Welcome to Primetime, everybody, episode 17, and tonight we are talking about Stranger Things Season 4, both Volume 1 and Volume 2. I am super excited to talk about this. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Kerri. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Going great.
Excited to talk about Stranger Things.
Yes.
I've got my my alcohol ready to go, as always.
Got some beer as well.
And this is my last of these Airhead sours or Warheads.
Okay, so I am super excited to be talking about this season of Stranger Things, which is probably tying with season 3 as my favorite season. I got to rewatch it again, but there were a lot that happened in this season that I can't wait to get into. So let's start off with our overall non-spoiler thoughts of the season before we go into talking about very specific spoilers. So start.
Well, I just wanted to say, did we want to get into the little bit of the previous movie reviews that we're gonna do, or did you want to? Okay,
I forgot about that. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah.
Oh, no worries.
I figured I'd bring it up.
So yes, Chad and Kerri, you guys just watched The Black Phone, and you just watched X for the first time, which I am super excited to hear what you guys think about X, because I love that movie.
We finally saw X last night. We missed it in the theater. Very sad about that, but then we finally, I was like, you know what? I'm playing Hunter in trivia. We picked X. I've been meaning to watch this movie. I grabbed it on 4K Blu-ray, and I was like, let's grab this, watch it. I got it on streaming now via Movies Anywhere.
Sean ran out. No one has
Eggos. Damn it. We should have been prepared with our Eggos.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I was trying to think, actually, if we still had some in the freezer, but they would be at least 2 years old. They're probably not.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So for X, I will say, because I'm probably gonna start out by saying I'm probably the one that enjoyed it the least out of the panel here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say that I did like it. It's definitely a good movie. I like Ty West as a director. He did God, what was that movie?
House of the Devil is
House of the Devil
that we've seen.
Which I really loved House of the Devil, because that movie, if you haven't seen it, it's a really good. I won't spoil anything about the ending or anything like that, but it's basically about a college student who tries to get money by going and house sitting, basically.
I think she's babysitting.
I thought it was house sitting, and then there was a mom. There's supposed to be a mom or some elder person in there. And she really doesn't see anything for a very long time. It's kind of a slow burn bit of a movie, and I just thought it was really excellent. X, though, I don't know with X. I don't think I liked most of the characters in the movie.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
I liked Mia Goth. I thought she was excellent. I really, really did not like Jenna Ortega's character. I love Jenna Ortega as an actress, not like her character. So are we going into spoiler territories for this one? It just came out.
I actually want to do a full breakdown episode of this one day. So
I can say what I have to say, I think, without spoilers, but she makes a decision in the movie that kind of really, I feel like, betrays another character in the movie.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I feel like, because it's a whole relationship thing that happens, I feel like she makes a decision. I understand her thing, but I feel like it's betraying the relationship with another character. Mm-hmm. And I feel like from that point on, I just could not wait to see her actually die in the movie. And I don't want to say anything. Things. Non-spoiler. I won't get to who dies in the movie. A lot of people do, but it's a thing. But yeah, no. That part really got to me. Other than that, it was just a interesting little concept of people trying to make a porn film in thing, and then the people there get really mad at them. That's pretty much what the movie is. So
I gotta say, I really, really liked this movie. I thought it was excellent. I liked it. Like Brad said, the only other Ty West movie we've seen is House of the Devil. I like this a lot more than House of the Devil. So I was kind of going into this a little bit unsure if I would like it because I didn't like, the prior film we had seen by him that much. But I don't know. I loved it. I don't know. It's a little bit like reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just with that time, that place, the style of filming. But it really is a wholly different film than that. Like the actual plot of it, what happens. I don't know. It's gory. I think the characters are really well written. I think the entire plot is really great. I loved how it ended. I don't know. I loved it.
Oh, am I giving my non-spoiler review?
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about this movie a lot. I went into it never seeing a Ty West movie. I didn't even know who he was until I saw this movie, if I'm being honest. So I'm coming in with fresh eyes. I'm a huge fan of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and to see him take that and give it almost an updated twist with characters that I actually cared about. I know, Chad, we can talk about that a little bit later. I actually loved all the characters, so I didn't want anything to happen to all of them. I think they were written in a way where they were caring characters. You know what I mean? Like they actually cared about, the people who own the house, not getting a lot of spoilers. So when things do happen, I feel more attached to them when over, characters from the original Texas Chainsaw or Friday the 13th, or they're kind of just meatbag characters we see getting killed. I like that it's kind of a mixture of characters I love and don't want anything to happen to, but also we get really sweet, gory kills in it as well that plays a really, really great balance. And a lot of stuff I can get into when we get into a lot of spoilers for our, an episode later on. But I love the hidden messages behind the movie as well, that maybe some people haven't seen or maybe they haven't thought about yet. So yeah, I really, really love X.
yeah,
So
I think as a movie that like kind of just unfurls, I feel like there was like really one scene where we got like a lot of the characterization. A lot of the other moments were just trying to make this movie, and then the rest of it is just kind of like, the actual action of the movie. But yeah, I think if you want to do like a full review of X, I think that could be really fun, and we'll watch it again for that. But yeah, we can move on, and maybe I'll like it a little more the next time. There was some stuff I did like. I'm not saying that I thought this was a terrible movie. I just expected like something up here, and for me it was a little, not as much. But I'm glad you guys loved it, and I want to watch it again to see if maybe I feel differently.
Yeah. All right. So you also saw Black Phone today, right?
So we just got back.
We're gonna have to definitely not talk spoilers here because Hunter hasn't seen it. So, but I'm so excited for you two because like before, because this isn't the first weekend that it came out, so I've heard a lot of people talk about this movie. Not necessarily horror fans either, just people who have seen it. They really, really liked it, and I thought it was great. I think you can definitely tell that it is a Joe Hill written movie. It's little baby Stephen King.
Stephen King's son.
Yep, and definitely you can tell it was adapted from a great mind of writing. I love the music choices in the movie quite a bit. It takes place in the 70s, so it's kind of like 1978 Fear Street a little bit, where it's got like really good music choices for the time. And I love they did a really good job in this of like setting up the characters before the action starts happening, like the actual key core stuff of the Black Phone and things that occur with that. But yeah, I thought this movie was excellent, and I would probably go out and say that is probably my second favorite movie of the year, after Top Gun Maverick. So
Wow.
yeah, I love this movie. I thought it was so well done.
I loved it as well. Definitely 100% recommend going out and seeing this movie if you have a chance. It was scary. It was
definitely scary.
The plot was so clever. And it was scary. I think I jumped at least once in that movie.
There's one part where I didn't jump because she jumps more than I do, but I'm more squeamish. Like I'm waiting for it to happen. But then sometimes when things actually happen, and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to jump there, wasn't I? And Kerri jumped out of me.
And this, I think it's clear from the trailers that this involves some kid actors, some child actors, and they were phenomenal.
So good.
Oh my gosh. I think this easily could have been a train wreck if you didn't have good actors in the roles. The kids were incredible.
The main character, the kid who's the main character plays Finney.
Yeah, Finney.
Yeah.
He's not going to get nominated for anything probably, but I wish he would because he's so good.
I thought his sister as well.
She is so good too.
Excellent.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
The kid actor.
I'm more and more excited for this movie.
It is really good. I think you're really good. I have a hard time picturing someone who wouldn't really enjoy this if you like horror movies. I guess maybe if you like, I don't know, maybe you like a really specific type of genre, like subgenre.
Mm-hmm. Got a really good mystery too that unfurls. So I think anyone who just digs thrillers and or horror.
Yeah.
But if there are people, because there are jump scares, I will say. So if you hate jump scares with a passion, yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, I mean, considering who is the director of this movie, I have no doubt there's a lot of jump scares.
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say too, and Kerri probably wants to say as well, is I leaned over to Kerri and I was like, this is totally Scott Derrickson style. You can tell.
You can tell the style.
Because we love Sinister because it's probably one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I think this is nearly there. I don't know if this one is as scary.
It's not as scary, I would say. There's definitely a very decent scares in this. It's not as scary throughout though.
Because the scariness isn't the jump scares in Sinister. I don't know who's seen Sinister, but there is not real, but it is very super realistic snuff film footage in
like the film roll. Yeah.
That's the scariest part. That sets up the atmosphere for the movie. This doesn't have that, but it's still amazing in its own way. And it has some stuff that's similar to the found footage type of
okay.
It's so good. Scott awesome.
I do have a question because I watched the first teaser trailer because it was at the theaters that I was at. I feel like that trailer showed us way too much. Do you guys feel like you knew all the twists and turns before going into the film based on the trailers, or was there enough twists to make it worth it?
I think it was enough to make it worth it. I think you do know, if you've seen the trailer, kind of part of the major point, you would know some of the major points. I don't think it ruins it though. I think there's still a ton of payoff, and there's definitely some twists that are not in the trailer.
I don't think I normally pay attention to trailers that well because people are like, that spoiled Spider-Man No Way Home for me because I saw this little snippet of a thing in there. I'm like, why are you paying that close of attention and then getting mad at the trailer? Yeah. It looks like you were looking for something to
I am gonna say I'm a little annoyed because I purposely avoided the Nope trailer because I didn't want to know more about it beforehand.
She said nope to the Nope trailer.
And they played it, and there's I hope. I mean, you still can't really tell that much from it, but they showed so much stuff in the new trailer, and I was like, I've debated doing this.
Yeah, I was like, I was already on board, guys.
So I know the one thing that they showed in the trailer that I wish they didn't show was the actual use of the black phone, because they showed that in the trailer of seeing the black phone ring and then seeing the dead people or whatever. That's in the trailer. I wish they didn't show that, and then I could have kind of like learn about it in the film. You know what I
That's
mean?
kind of the thing is I actually kind of forgot about that part of the trailer. So for me, it was still a surprise,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh yeah." But I agree with you that I think if they would have left that out, it would have been a tad stronger. But it's still a great movie otherwise.
Yeah, I would say I remembered that from the trailer, Hunter, and I still had a great time. I still thought it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, they did a great job setting up like all of the shots and all of the just you remember the Invisible Man, just the way he moves the camera to focus on specific things. That's exactly how Scott Derrickson did it. He directed it. That's so good.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what this comment means. Can you say 11?
11.
So I know that you saw this. 11.
There you go.
Oh, and how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. So speaking of 11, look at that transition. He did it for us. Woo! Let's get into Stranger Things season 4 talk. But before, so let's do our general non-spoiler thoughts, and then we will go into the main spoiler talk.
Who starts?
Oh, should I start? Or?
You can start.
You can start.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this might be my favorite season. It's tied with season 3 right now. I just gotta give it a rewatch. The thing I love about this season more than others is it feels like the stakes have been raised higher than before.
God, yes, definitely.
It feels like this is the end of the world apocalypse type season. And when some shows do that, it feels over the top. It feels like they're just trying to do too much. What's great about what this season does is it has that grand feel, but also keeps it based with the characters that you loved for the past 5, 6, 7 years. That it feels grounded, but also with the stakes at the peak of what they could be. I love all the twists. I love the new characters. I love how they used the old characters and the new characters, how they, kind of intertwine. I also love the use of what they did in season 3 of people growing up and fading away, but there's still kind of that friendship bond that you have with your friends. Maybe you don't talk every day, but you know that they're there for you. That's a big major part of this is kind of the relationships you build. And I mean, Robert Englund always kills it. He's great in this season. A very, very scary villain. I love the makeup. I love the ways that he looks in different shots. I really have no complaints about this season. Chad, Kerri, you guys want to go ahead and tell your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the thing you said about the stakes feeling so real and you actually kind of like panicking, like what's going to happen to these characters that I've grown to love. That's so true. And I think one of the strongest things that not everybody loves about this season is the pacing of the season, because most of the episodes are just very, very long, especially the last 2 and the finale of the season. Because they're so long and they're paced very slowly, like they take their time. I think just that I think that just sucks you into it more because it's such a slow pacing. Like you have that time to breathe and kind of like feel like you're in the season. And not a lot of people were like, checking my watch, let me get to it already. And then a lot of complaints that I've heard about the season 2 is like the Russia storyline that we'll get more in depth into. But I call it that because certain characters spend basically most of their time in the season in Russia. And I've heard people that I've talked to, I don't read a ton of reviews or anything, but people that I've talked to, a lot of similar complaints were the Russia storyline. But they commit to that storyline. They commit to everything that they're doing. They don't half-ass anything in this season. And they fully commit, bring it to fruition to the end of the season. And I just think it's a really great. I really would love to also rewatch this as well. But yeah, going to the villain, I think is excellent. I love the creepy Nightmare on Elm Street type of vibe this season gives you, because there's some parts in early Stranger Things, like when Will's being taken over and he's got that like look on his face and stuff, and he's being taken over and like possessed and stuff. That stuff is very, very scary. But I've never been scared like I've been in this season because of this villain, what this villain can do to you, and just you don't know what it is, and it seems intelligent. And the other villains never really seem that intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even really have like a face. This had a face, and that's to me scarier. Talked a lot. Kerri, go ahead.
Okay. I also really enjoyed this season. I will say I don't think I rank it as highly as I know you actually didn't say where you placed it, Chad, but I don't think I rank it as highly as Hunter. I think it's actually probably my third favorite season. So it would be 1, 3 this season, and then 2. And I think that is because, like Chad said, I am one of those people who felt like one of the storylines, and it is the Russia storyline, was not compelling. Yeah. And I think if they had done something different with that, and I don't know what they could have done, maybe obviously maybe that's like the best that it could have been. I think if they had done something different, this would be maybe my favorite season or second favorite season.
Yeah.
But when you have an entire storyline that to me is not compelling, I'm like, kind of not really. I just want you to go back to the other characters and the other story arcs. Kind of puts it down for me. But that said, I think that some of the best moments in the entire series are in this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other 2 storylines were extremely strong. They were fantastic. There's a mystery element, which is so compelling. It's scary. And I think scary in a different way than the prior seasons have been. I'd say this and season 3 probably were both really scary, and it just depends a little bit more on whether you find Nightmare on Elm Street or The Fly scarier. I think the character development was really fantastic, although I think they're starting to get to a point where they're introducing so many characters, and some characters just kind of get shunted to the side because you have so many people you have to pay attention to. But that said, other characters really got to shine in this season, like particularly Max and 11. I think Will actually got a few places to shine in this season. He didn't get as much storyline, but he definitely got some great moments in there.
Yeah. So since Kerri said that I didn't actually say where this was, I wanted to chime in with that. For me, where this kind of ranks, it's hard for me to rank these seasons, to be honest. Just like in general, because there's so many great things in each season that I love. Certain things that I remember. Like when Kerri says she ranks 2 the lowest, I'm like, but what about Bob?
Oh yeah, Bob.
There's so many great things in each season that I'm like, that it can kind of be like a little bit of a seesaw with what you actually love. But I'm right there with Hunter. I feel like I'm like in the middle all the times. I'm right there, except for on X. But I'm right there with Hunter, where I think season 4. And with Kerri too, where I think season 4 has some of the best stuff, and it may be my favorite season. But I've seen the other seasons multiple times, and I've only seen 4 once. Yeah. I really do want to give this another watch to see, I know what happens now. Let me kind of pay attention. Is the pacing too slow, or is it what I said, where it's great because they commit to that pacing and they just keep it that, or am I just all right, now I know what happens. It's let's get to the parts that I like. But I do agree with Kerri also with the Russia thing, because I do love that they commit to it, but also, is it compelling? Maybe not as much. Definitely not as much as the other parts. Kerri has a point there, I think. But overall, I still think it's a really great season. I would probably still put it up there with 3 maybe as my towards my favorite, maybe. But I don't know, it's hard to say.
Okay, so before we get to the spoiler talk, Sean Redmond in the chat gives his thoughts, general thoughts, very good. Not my favorite though, because there wasn't enough interaction between key characters until the very end.
Yeah.
I will say I respect that, but that's kind of what Stranger Things has done since season 2. For being honest, everyone has their own storylines. They come back at the end.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the formula at this point. So I don't really bother it that much to me. But
I think it is exacerbated though because there are so many more characters now. Like even in season 1, you kind of had, Nancy and Jonathan are hunting the monster separately from Joyce and Hopper and separately from the kids.
Steve and Dustin go off on their own little adventure.
Two. I'm talking about.
I'm just talking about when they split up. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were just on season 1. Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just kind of exacerbated because, and part of it's you're wanting them to all get together, and I think, are thinking some of the characters are going to get together in a more direct way.
Yeah.
I can kind of see that point. Yeah.
I mean, like, that's also the thing too. Like, even if you watch freaking Avengers Endgame, you have everybody split up because it's hard to just. How are you going to have everybody talking at once in the same room? But I understand it's the whole season that they're split up until the very end.
Yeah.
So I see the commenters' points as well. I've heard that mirrored multiple times from different people. So it's definitely a key criticism for the season. But I also think it semi-works if you like those specific storylines that are separated.
Yeah. So he also said, and this one's funny, he said the Russia storyline was okay, if only for what Joyce and Hopper were at one point.
What they wear? Oh. What am I forgetting, Hunter? What am I forgetting here?
I think he's referring to the scene in the church with Hopper and Joyce. I could be wrong, though.
Did they have a little bit of a romantic moment there?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the church when they were getting changed or whatever.
Oh, yeah. That's right. There's different little stuff in the Russia storyline that's fun, but I think overall just less than the other two.
I would say in volume 2 it definitely became more compelling, but I think merely because I feel like, well, I don't want to get into. Are we in spoilers now or no?
We can get spoilers in just a second, though. Okay. I'm trying to see if we have
then I'll just say I think the Russia storyline gets more compelling in volume 2, but I think merely because it's coming to a close.
Yeah. See, I'm someone who actually enjoyed the Russia storyline, so going into spoilers, we can kind of.
What did you enjoy about it, Hunter?
The one thing I enjoyed about it is, one, I like the interaction of seeing Hopper in a situation that he's not used to. Someone where Hopper is always in control, or he feels like he's in control.
Yeah.
And now that control is being stripped away from him, but he's still trying to fight and be defiant and try to escape. And there's a lot of great action sequences that we can get into that I feel like that I still remember because it's been a while since I watched volume 1. But those moments stick with me because I love Hopper as a character, and I love seeing that dynamic of his power being taken from him, but also him trying to fight to not only get back to Joyce, but to kind of fight back that power that he thought he had at one point that was taken away from him without his say so, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, they have a fun kind of escape attempt, but then it just ends pretty it's not a Great Escape or a Shawshank that it doesn't take very long. It's not a big part of it.
It feels really, I just felt I think part of it was that storyline felt very low stakes because I think you knew they weren't going to have Hopper in Russia and be alive if they weren't going to bring him back to the United States at some point. I don't think you thought Joyce was really in danger of dying at any point. And I could have seen any of the other characters in that storyline, like Murray, Yuri, Enzo. I could have seen any of them dying, but I honestly wasn't as attached to them. So to me, it was kind of like I'm waiting. There's no mystery to the storyline. It's basically they're just trying to get Hopper out of prison. And I'm like, I know at some point they're going to get him out of prison.
Yeah.
Like,
because like you think that because like the big thing at the end of season 3 was like, oh my God, did Hopper just die? And then you see like little things where you're like, Hopper's coming back for sure. And then he comes back, and then it is a little bit underwhelming, I think, his return. And then like Kerri said, like you don't really feel the stakes. You know he's not gonna die. You know it's maybe one of the other Russian people that you might grow to like, or like Yuri, or like she said, or is gonna die, but not him, not Joyce probably. Even though there was that one point where like she gets like drugged or whatever, which was kind of like oh, what's happening here? But I think those moments were too not that frequent that it was super exciting or anything. Like there's no Vecna over in Russia, so.
All right, so let's get into our full spoiler discussion. Where should we start? Because I
thought we were. I don't know.
It's fine. So we have this like broken up into talking about different segments of like where our characters are. So we have the Vecna, California, Russia, and the Nina Project storylines. We can start in any order; it doesn't really matter. Where do you guys want to start first?
Well, maybe we should start with where 11 begins.
Okay.
So the California storyline for a little bit.
Starts where they are in California then? Okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm. That's right. Because Indiana to California. All right. Yeah.
So if I'm being honest, this is probably my nitpick of the season.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of moments where I don't really care about them being in California all that much. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like the 11, being in school thing, the bullying thing. I don't feel like it got a proper conclusion, if I'm being honest.
It didn't. That's true.
It just made 11, it shows 11 standing up for herself, which is great, but then it just makes her more of an outcast because now people don't want to talk to her anymore because she, smashed Veronica's face with a roller skate. Mm-hmm. So that's probably my only nitpick is just like, I wish we would have got to the Vecna stuff kind of, faster, but I understand that you have to bring where the characters are now. Got to show where they are now. I just wish that was the low point for me of just like, I kind of want them to get to what the mystery is for the season. But then once that happened, everyone got on their storylines. I felt like it picked up the pace a lot more.
Yeah, I think maybe like the purpose of that is kind of just to show, because that they're going to California, so it's like to show their lives there, like what they're up to now. A little bit of time has passed. They're in school. Jonathan's smoking pot a lot with his buddy Argyle, who's one of the highlights of the season.
I love Argyle.
And but then you get to see 11, and you don't know how 11's gonna act how she's going to be in a situation where she doesn't have her core group of friends. She's, she doesn't really hang out with Will all that much in school, and he's not exactly popular or anything like that either. So to see her get really bullied a lot was really hard, a little cringe, because you just want to like punch those bullies in the face. And when she finally does, it's pretty awesome. But then I feel like that whole bit was kind of served just to kind of make her and Mike's relationship fray a little bit.
See, I thought a part of it as well, especially when she hits, what's her name?
I have no idea. I don't care. What is it?
Angela.
Yeah. When she hits Angela in the face, I kind of felt like that. Like, one, it serves as like, 11's not fitting in. She's to Mike. I think it definitely is a part of that, like, is trying to serve that storyline. I think also, though, when she hits her in the face, it's trying to serve the storyline that's presented at the very beginning of this season, where is 11 actually kind of evil? Because we're kind of presented at the very beginning with the opening teaser scene, where we think 11 has, at least what's presented to us is maybe 11 has killed literally every other child and adult besides herself and Dr. Brunner.
I forgot about that opening. That's true. That's so true.
I think it's a little bit feeding into that kind of storyline as well.
But then does it get betrayed later?
I don't think it gets betrayed later, because I think 11 has always had those tendencies. And I think without, because she has, especially in like season 1, she has confronted the kids' bullies and done things to them. She's killed people. We've seen her kill people before.
And she also became at one point a bully 11 in season 2.
Yeah.
In that one episode where she became bully and she's trying to put dirt in people's eyes.
So I don't think it's out of character, actually, with her powers gone, to physically act out, especially because that's got to be very frustrating to have been very powerful at one point and not have that anymore.
That scene where she tries
about to say the crazy event.
You're like, no.
Like the Scott's Tots episode where you're like, oh.
But I agree with you, Hunter. There is no conclusion to that part of the story. There's no she comes back and
Angela apologizes, still holding her head like, I'm sorry, 11.
That's kind of just dropped off. And I mean, you can't do everything.
Or she's going as what is it? Jean? What is her name? Her real name?
Who?
Oh,
Jane.
Yeah. She's going by Jane at that point. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Jane. Out of my head. Which that scene was amazing, because it's like you finally get vindication for 11, but also I just wish they did more with it, because there are some scenes you can cut from the season, I feel like, that you could show at least a moment of them two interacting with each other.
And then you get from Mike's perspective, he comes in, he's just trying to hang out with his girlfriend, his buddy Will, and stuff for a bit, and then all of a sudden she hits some girl in the face, and you're like, that's assault. Jesus Christ, what is going on? So that's Mike's perspective. And
11 gets arrested.
Yep. But then it does bring some funny moments where you have the banter between Jonathan and Argyle, and it's like, if it had been a roller skate, it would have sliced her nose clean off, man. It could have been so much worse. Funny enough, Jonathan being a stoner, I could clearly see that. That's a easy progression to be someone who listens to rock and roll as much as he does, and the 80s hair metal. But he was always kind of he seemed more straight edge. He was the guy that wasn't going to go to the party when Nancy invited him. He was the not weird, but loner, listening to The Cure in his bedroom, developing photographs and, with his emo hair. He was kind of like that kid. But then he transitions into this other guy. So
I will say, though, they do give a reason. I mean, if you look at, he uses that more as kind of his escape from his life at this point. Yeah. Which, a lot of people do. I mean, a lot of people have things that they go into, whether it's movies, whether it's drinking, whether it's playing video games, whatever, to get your mind off of where you're at now. So I kind of like that they gave a reason as to why he's just not, I'm a stoner now. Why not?
Definitely. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought that was a little better when they gave him a bit of a reason. I actually didn't love Charlie Keaton's acting as a stoner. I felt like it was pretty exaggerated.
It was over the top.
Yeah. So that kind
Argyle's a natural, though.
Yeah, sorry, Argyle was a natural, and
which gets me wondering a lot of questions about the actor, but
yeah,
I think we know.
Well, it's funny enough. I mean, there's
He's
a
like
lot.
that in every. He was like that in Booksmart. He's like that in every like movie he's in. It's a good actor. He used to do like like cell phone commercials and stuff.
Yeah, I just felt it was a little
Always
bit
has that hair. Sorry,
over
go ahead,
the
sorry.
top, and so that really just took me out of it. And then, you know, they kind of did a little in volume 2. It definitely was, his character was better because they gave him, one, a reason for getting stoned all the time, and 2, he has this great moment with Will. But I think besides that, in volume 1, I'm like literally could give two shits about anything about Jonathan right now. Like,
Damn.
I don't know. I don't know. It just wasn't. I don't know.
I mean,
Sorry.
they didn't really. It's the same. It's the same thing with a lot of the like Jonathan, Will, just the Byers family. I mean, you know, and then Joyce goes through the Russian thing, and just the Byers family felt very sidelined in the thing. And I think if you did not have Argyle in there, yeah, I'd say you could just like whatever that whole kind of thing. I agree with that.
Yeah. So Sean Redmond in the chat actually said something about our previous point about Evil 11. He said, I looked at that first scene, and even with all her previous evil actions, it didn't make sense to me. Never bought into it. Okay, that's a fair point. I mean, I never really thought that 11 killed those people. I was like, there's no way that this, you know, we're into season 4 and we've seen her do evil things, but towards evil people.
Well, here's the thing though. What I was thinking during that time was, is there something new we're going to learn about 11 that maybe because we've seen this in other shows. We're watching Buffy right now. There's certain things like, are we going to find out that there's something that unlocks a different kind of 11 that we haven't seen before? Like, is there like if there's like a Bucky Barnes Winter Soldier like pass phrase happens and 11 becomes crazy, like that could have happened, but you know we didn't get that. But I'm sorry, but we you know, yeah, I was concerned for a second about 11.
Okay. So let's see what else we got. So yeah, we talked about the 11, the Mike thing. I know a lot of people have been hating on Mike's character development lately, from season 3 and season 4. I personally have always liked Mike. I've always liked how he starts off kind of in season 1. You know, he sees 11, he kind of likes her, but he doesn't know what's going on because he's kind of young. And then that kind of love for 11 kind of grows every season. I actually think Finn Wolfhard is probably better in this season than I've ever seen him, because there are a lot of scenes where it's like it's really dramatic, and he brings it out in a passionate way that I've never seen Mike the character bring that out. And I feel like that was a great kind of crescendo point, especially so since we're in spoilers, I'll go ahead and just bring it out. When he's telling 11 in the tub that he loves her, and that, you know, he has a whole feel about it, that was so good, because the way it cut between that and then 11 hearing it in Vecna's mind, and you know she's trapped up with the arms and stuff, and you hear the passion in Mike's voice as he's talking about how much he loves her, how much he's always loved her since first meeting her. And they have that kind of snippets of, like, you know, them over the years or whatever, and you see kind of like the memories of 11 with Mike. I feel like that was like probably one of the best acting of the seasons I've seen from Finn Wolfhard's character, I would say.
I think for that specifically, just Mike as a character, I think Mike was always best in the beginning of the show. Finn Wolfhard, I think Finn Wolfhard as an actor, like he blew up, I feel like, and I don't know, it feels like he started to like blow up, get like his music career going, kind of, and get, he was in It and, stuff like that. He's trying to do his big film career. I don't know. I kind of feel like he got super overhyped. And then now like Stranger Things is kind of a thing that he feels more like obligated to. But I also think that they kind of sideline Mike so much. So I'll say they sideline Mike and Will so much during the season that it's hard to make an argument for like their inclusions overall in the season. But I do think when we got these last 2 episodes, Mike and Will, especially Will, were 2 of the strongest parts of these last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And it a little bit made up for kind of sidelining them earlier on. The scene that you talked about with Mike professing his love for 11 and stuff like that, that's definitely what she needed. That was the inspiration that she needed. And I loved that part. But I will say with Will, because I think we haven't gotten full confirmation on it, but I think what we were talking about in our other episode about Will professing his love for Mike hasn't come yet, but we got a little bit towards it. And now I'm convinced that's exactly what's going to happen, because you got the thing where he's like telling him he shouldn't give up on 11, stuff like that. And then you have him turn away and just start crying. And you're like, oh my God. Noah is the man. I love him so much. He's so good. Dude, but I think Mike and Will are really good in those last 2 episodes.
Yeah, so the scene that really got me was when Will finally shows Mike the picture he's been working on all summer, and it's them fighting the dragon with the heart on the shield, and he's like, Mike, you're the heart of this group. I'm like, oh my God, like,
yeah,
that was so powerful.
So much.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think they could have made it any more obvious without explicitly saying it. And I guess there's some hesitation to say it, and probably for good reason. I think it's in character for Will to keep that inside of him, especially for the time. This is the 80s. This isn't present day. But sorry.
I was just going to add from that I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen probably early in season 5, because we are getting a season 5. This isn't the end of the show. And I think it's going to happen early in season 5. And I think it's going to be like a really great big moment. But a lot of people are like, that I've heard, like, Will should have came out already. Like, we know he's gay. We know he loves Mike. He should have came out. I think it's going to, I'm like, y'all, this is Will's decision. You let Will decide comes out. And I think Will's going to have like a really big moment in season 5. I don't think it's going to start playing It's Raining Men or anything like that. I think that was a Love Simon bit that happened. But I do think he's going to come out in a big way, and it's going to be very special.
We'll see. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do with, that, because hopefully they just do something. It is heading somewhere, and they don't just kind of let that go. But yeah, I think it is very in character for him, especially at this time where Mike's just talking about how much he loves 11, and Will knows, it's never, Mike is never going to love him in that way.
You can see his heart just breaking like every time.
I know. Oh gosh.
I think he's still probably got to get it out though. Mike has to know. I don't think he's going to bottle it up forever. That's too sad.
I think I could see them doing a thing where he kind of, because I think the Duffer Brothers have said they're probably going to have to do a time jump. The kids. Talk about the kids who looked oldest. Noah and Mike.
Please fix that.
Noah and Finn will.
Noah, Mike, and Lucas.
Lucas, I would say, still looks. I believed him as a teenager still. I would say it was the most obvious with with
Will
Mike and Will.
and Mike and Will, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And it looks like they're dressing up an adult in a little boy's clothes.
Maybe that's why they did sideline them a lot, actually.
That's a good point.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. So I think they will have to do a time jump. I wonder if they could do something where Will has moved on from Mike, maybe to someone who
That's true.
Could reciprocate their feelings.
Maybe he introduces his boyfriend to Mike or something, and that's how they kind of.
Or he kind of develops a relationship with a new character.
Because it is like a first love, a first crush, but they're also best friends. And maybe Will won't want to ruin that.
And maybe he'll say, I used to feel this way about you, but I don't anymore. I've moved on.
Maybe. Yeah.
So we'll see. It could go the other way, though. It could be.
And then I can see the scene now. I can see like Finn Wolfhard, and like just kind of being really awkward about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Is there what do we want to talk about next? Our love for Argyle, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense because we're in that realm of characters.
Yeah, we're still there.
I think Argyle was a great. Oh no, we lost Hunter, but hopefully.
I just ignore it when that happens. Just continue.
I'm sorry. I think Argyle was a great addition, and I think he was a great addition to this season in a way where it didn't feel like his introducing him took away from other characters. I think, like you said, Chad, he added a lot, or maybe Hunter said this, he added a lot to that California storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And I think without him there, it definitely would have suffered. You kind of needed someone really dynamic and new and funny, and who wasn't just totally familiar with all of the crap that has gone down in Hawkins for the past, 3-4 years.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, Argyle, exactly. I mean, we don't get like a crazy character development with him. Maybe we'll see more in season 5. I hope he is a big part of season 5 because he's so funny. He's so just likable. The one guy was complaining like, no one likes my risotto. It's like, this risotto is schmacking. And I'm just like, just everything he says is just, it took me a little bit to love Argyle. But it's like when we got to that risotto part, I started to, and then like when he has the how much salt do you need? I can't. What was that, like 11 pounds enough? Like you have to get that much salt. And then that scene between Argyle and the other stoner guy that work at the pizza place is just so
really funny,
so good, so funny. And the bit with them trying pineapple on pizza, which I'm a huge fan of pineapple on pizza, but it was funny to see that 11 Mike dynamic was like, Mike's like, what? That's blasphemy. That's crazy. What are you talking about? Because there's people that love it and there's people that hate it. So,
and I thought that was a nice, sweet, lighthearted moment to get. And I think it helped because, we haven't seen too much of Mike and 11 interacting this season. And I think it really did kind of help to reestablish that relationship, especially right before, a major plot point is where he kind of brings her back by saying how much he loves her. I think you needed that little sweet moment between them.
Absolutely.
To pay off.
The whole pizza thing. Yeah. So Hunter, we were just, are you back, Hunter? Yeah. So we were just talking about our love for Argyle. And we were also talking about the, when they went to get the salt at the pizza place with the other stoner guy, and then also the thing about Mike and 11 trying the pizza with pineapple on it and loving it, and then Mike being like, "That's blasphemy! What? That's crazy!" And I love pineapple on pizza, so I'm right there with 11. Boom. Okay, so all 3 of us are fans.
Yeah.
If you're not, then you're like Mike. If we're like 11 though, so what?
All right, so
what do you love about Argyle? Oh, what's up?
Going back, Sean said obviously there is a double meaning, but I can't see Will telling Mike how he feels. I think there'll be other options for Will's love life going forward.
A very good point. Yeah, absolutely.
I could definitely see that happening,
especially because of the timing, like you guys are saying, and that's why he's so nervous about that, it's
Well, I think it's also just hard. I think in general, it's hard to tell your friend
your
that
best
you're
friend
and
that
your
you love
you
him.
know your best friend doesn't feel the same way.
Yeah, like he's
That's
straight,
so
he's
hard.
in love with 11, and you just know all of that about him. You
Yeah.
just like, hey, what about me though? Kind of a deal. So
Oh man, that line at the beginning, speaking of when he's like, what does that mean for us? And you know that he almost slipped up. He was like, you never called, you're my friend, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh no, like.
I feel like though, because I never thought about this for Will before we started talking about it. So I feel like that when season 5 comes, I'm gonna be like, hey, let's rewatch Stranger Things again so we can get the full scope. I'm gonna look at Will in like a different way, but not in like a bad way. I'm gonna look at his character in like a
and see if there's any hints.
What'd you say, Hunter?
Like, see if there's any hints of like
well,
that connection.
There's a definite hint in season 3 where
in the rain,
in the rain, and like Mike's like, oh, just because you don't like girls. Whatever,
and it's gonna hit harder, I think, knowing what we know now about Will.
Dude, I actually thought they were gonna have it like this cheesy kind of thing where like he's gonna show Mike that because I always thought that the picture that he was drawing was of Mike, like kind of like a picture of Mike, but I kind of like that they went this route of like him drawing, the whole crew, and then having Mike as the leader with the heart on his shield.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
So I'm sorry about Argyle. Yes, Argyle is one of my favorite new characters. I don't know. I have a lot of friends like Argyle.
Oh,
so
okay.
I know people like him, and they are amazing people. I just wish they did more with him because I wanted to see more.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about how you don't really get like a lot of like character development from Argyle. Yeah. You don't know about his family, about his like loves and interests, and he's just mostly there for comic relief. He does fall in love at one point when they go to Susie's house. But other than that, they kind of throw that away a little bit. But other than that, you don't learn much about him. But it doesn't super matter because he's such a great presence in the show. Mm-hmm. They set him up so well to be that great presence that lightens everything up because it's such a dark season. And then I think in season 5 they might explore more with his character. At least I hope they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought this was the perfect amount of Argyle because, like I've said a few times now, there's just so many characters that I think the introduction of Argyle was actually done really well, where he's adding more to the story. He's not really taking away from other characters.
Yeah. So yes, I love Argyle. I love the fact that he kind of like helps out the crew, but like stumbles his way through it. He's like, hey guys, there's this weird like tracks here. I'm like, dude, nobody in their like sober mind would notice that because he's high all the time. He's firing all cylinders, and I love it.
Yeah, he's so great. So what do we want to move on to next? Do we want to move on to the kids in high school?
In Hawkins, right?
Yeah, Hawkins High.
Okay. I will say to begin with, I did not like Lucas the first 2 episodes.
Gotcha.
I don't think you're supposed to, though. I think you're supposed to.
Fair.
I didn't hate Lucas.
Yeah, because you love Lucas.
I love Lucas, and I understand where Lucas is coming from, because you're gonna have people like that in high school, where they're like, well, the D&D, that's kids stuff. That's stuff that I did when I was in middle school. Like, I want to go play sports with these other guys, and people kind of drift apart a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I have this other thing now. Like, I've done it with my friends in high school and in college and stuff like that. Like, I have my internet friends like Hunter that I hang out with, but I also have like my other friends, local that I hang out with. And it's like, Well, I'm gonna go do my. I hope we can still hang out. Maybe I can catch some other D&D sessions, but right now I gotta go do this big game, and it's also very sad that like his friends would rather do this really big campaign in D&D than go see their friend play. So I'm also like kind of sympathetic to Lucas a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
they could have pushed the session. D&D is not that big of a deal. You wrote this thing, just push it a week. Not that big of a deal.
I think kind of where Lucas, I think that's totally understandable on Lucas's part. I think kind of in the first couple episodes where you are like, oh, Lucas, don't do that, is where he's kind of, joining up with the jocks in like hunting down Eddie of the Hellfire Club. And like,
that's true.
kind of denying that he actually knows them. And
or like he accidentally gives up Dustin's name.
Yeah.
And
he does. Yeah. Go ahead.
You're just like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I think like he really wants to like fit in with that. That's just the classic thing of like you want to fit in, but deep down you know that like what the right thing is. And I feel like he does. He's on that line so well because like he does. Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is like he's going with them, and then when they're going up, he's going down. Like he's like. Okay, there's like a point where he's like, this isn't okay. I want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will say, the one thing that, like, the first 2 episodes with Lucas, like, I understand, he want to play basketball. That's great. You know what I mean? Get other hobbies. I don't like how they pretty much made Lucas a lapdog for Jason for, like, the first 2 episodes until he turns his back on him.
Yeah.
And I mean... And then, like, I think you had also kind of like the same thing with Dustin and Mike with Eddie at first, where they were like, setting up Eddie as this guy where they're like, Eddie's not going to move the campaign. And they were like scared of him. And I was like, and then they do like a totally different thing where whatever the jock's name is, Jason, he went to like 11 as being like the worst asshole ever. And then Eddie was like kind of like semi somewhere around here where he was like kind of being a little bit of jerk. We're not moving the session. And then he went like way down here, like one of the coolest guys ever.
Yeah.
I think the scene with Erica when she first meets Eddie, and it's a callback to season 3 where she tells Murray, I'm 10. She goes, I'm 11, you black-haired freak. And then oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say with Erica, mentioning Erica, there's not a ton I remember from Erica in this season that's amazing or anything, except for in the beginning when you see the transition from her being Dustin making her realize it's okay to be a nerd, it's okay to be yourself. She's given the D&D books, further encouraging it, like you'd want to do this stuff, just be who you want to be. And then she is that in the beginning of season 4. And she's like, they're like, she can't play. What does she know? And then she's like, I'm a level blank this. And, I have this much experience. And they're
That's a great line where she's like, I think she said something about like a ninja elf or something like that, where she's going to sneak up and enjoy watching people die on their own blood. I'm like, yes, Erica.
Yeah, she really stands up for herself, and it's amazing. I mean, of course she does. She always does that.
I do really love, too, if we're moving on to Erica, she's like, I think in this season, she really grows, and she's shown to be a really great leader and very clever. Like, she's, I think she figures out a lot of the stuff with the lights and, like, kind of helps develop the plan and is, like, very, like, willing to take charge and get stuff done.
Yeah, I think there's just less like key moments from her that I remember that are like she's always there. She's always a presence, really great stuff. The leadership role, like you said, but there's not that much like from like season 3 where she's like, Operation Child Endangerment.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's anything more with Erica that people want to talk about.
I just want to bring up, I love the scene where it cuts between Lucas and Erica playing D&D and basketball, and takes the shot, and then Erica rolls the dice, and they both like she hits a 20 on the D, he makes the final winning shot, and you're just like, Sinclair's for the win, baby.
Yeah, such a good moment. Well, I just wanted to say, since we're on still on Lucas and Erica, the Lucas and Max stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute.
And then, I mean, obviously, we got to talk about Max, because Max is probably the best thing in the season.
Yes.
Other like Max and Vecna, that whole shit is fantastic. But yeah, Lucas and Max's relationship in this, I thought was really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Especially when like Max is like in trouble.
Yeah. So, Dear Billy almost ruined me. I think I told you guys this already. That ending had me so tense up because I legit thought that they were going to kill Max off. And I was like, you better not.
And this shit happened twice.
Yeah. But in that scene where she's running and it kind of like cuts to black and you're not sure if she made it, I was like, if she did all this shit and she doesn't make it, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like,
so the one thing I want to highlight is that I love so much, and I can't believe that they did, but I can believe because they have such great like music tastes in the show. Brothers have the inclusion. I'm a big music fan. I have a vinyl collection. I listen to a lot of I have good taste, I think, in music. And one of my favorite albums is Kate Bush's Hounds of Love. And the very first track on this album is Running Up That Hill, which is prominently featured in this season. They play it during that moment that you guys are talking about. And they also incorporate it later in like this kind of like mashup of score. And Kate Bush is running up that hill, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that entire album. It's a great concept album. It's really fun. It's just a landmark like 80s album, and it's one of the greatest of all time. I highly recommend you listen to that album. But I'll stop talking about the album but that one specific song I think just speaks to Max's character. She would be that girl in the 80s that listened to Kate Bush all the time. Because Kate Bush is kind of like a weird artist. Like she sings about witches.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's exactly what Max would gravitate to. And I love that Kate Bush basically saves her life.
Yes. I will say,
I need to get that Kate Bush. We always have to have it.
Yep.
And the one point I wanted to say too is that, because there is one point where they have the headphones and they put it on her to save her the first time, but then the second time when they have it ready and then it gets stepped on. I was sitting there I was like, are we about to have a moment where this Vecna thing happens and then Lucas has to sing Running Up That Hill to her?
That would have been amazing.
I was waiting for that to happen and it didn't, but it's all right.
That would have been an amazing callback to the Never-Ending Story thing.
Yes.
That's amazing. I will say I love that scene in Dear Billy for multiple reasons. I love the idea that Max somehow traveled into Vecna's mind and it kind of caught him off guard. Like, you're not supposed to be here. Like, what are you doing here? And then all of a sudden, the portal opens up and you can see her body floating at the same time that she is running towards the portal. It's like she's kind of jumping back into her body. So great imagery in this whole sequence. And I also love that they brought back Deckard Montgomery as Billy for that one flashback scene where he's being taken over by Vecna. And he's like, deep down, you wanted me to die that day. That's why you didn't do anything. You wanted me to die. I was like, oh no.
Just that whole Vecna thing where he shows up, and then as soon as he shows up, you're like, oh my God. Well, sure, yes. Kate Bush got a resurgence, but I don't think Kate Bush is hungry. She's not out there pushing out new things. I think she's doing fine. Anyways, yeah, so Vecna, I love that when you see Vecna, you're like, oh shit, it's over. Because you're no longer, you're in this dream, Freddy Krueger dreamscape kind of deal. and your body is rising up and it's about to start cracking. And that's just like so creepy. I just love the imagery and just the way Vecna operates, and it's so scary.
Yeah. Well, I think the scene at the end, that sequence at the end of Dear Billy, I think that's probably one of the best, if not the best sequence in the entire show.
Yeah.
Just totally incredible the way it all played out and the way the stakes were so real. I mean, you really didn't. I mean, and maybe some people didn't think they were going to kill Max, but in my opinion, I was like, you don't know if she's going to live or die in this moment. It could really go either way. And I don't know, just like the song choice and just Sadie Sink's acting was so phenomenal. I mean, she is really the standout star in this entire season.
Yeah, I fell in love with her in this season. I didn't love her character, like as I've said before season 4. I liked her, but I didn't need her. But in this one, I was like, oh my God, she's the best part of the season. So yeah, I agree.
And then
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. I was gonna kind of move on from that one scene. So if you have something else to say, go.
I'm excited to go back after watching season 4 and see the development of Max's character and see if they, how that changes, knowing what happens in season 4 with her character.
Yeah. And I was actually surprised after Max survived in Dear Billy that she did actually die in the last episode. Yeah. And 11 brings her back, but is she back? I mean, we don't know. I'm sure that will be something that's resolved in season 5. But I was honestly really surprised that they went there and actually killed her.
Yeah, when the bones of Max started cracking,
I was like, no.
Kerri was like,
yeah, that was my face as well.
I thought that meant she was dead. I mean, for good. I was like,
yeah, I actually didn't think they were gonna go there, but then I was like, they could. But then I loved finding out that 11 might actually have. Oh, interesting! I didn't know that either. Cool.
That's awesome.
Great point. Yeah, when we find out, I'm like, wait a second. Does 11 have resurrection powers? Is she about to heal Max with the power of friendship? And I think she might have.
She at least brought her back to life.
Because another spoiler thing, Eddie dies.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's very heartbreaking. Dustin takes it super hard. And then he gives like a speech that's like freaking like Friday Night Lights-esque that I'm like, oh my God, okay. And then
he's talking to his uncle?
He's talking to his uncle, yeah. And but that whole thing, I'm sitting there like, I don't think 11 can bring Eddie back because they don't have the power of friendship with that one.
Well, so I will say the Duffer Brothers did say in an interview that the bats can't really kill people. And apparently there's a scene where Owen says that the bats can't kill people. So I don't know what that is. But me personally, I want them to keep Eddie dead because of how it was done.
Yeah.
I don't mind characters dying, but I want them to. Like, if you're going to kill somebody, kill them. That's the problem with the MCU. They don't know how to kill people in movies.
Yeah. Great point. Like, they should have, maybe hot take, they should have killed War Machine at the end of Civil War.
Yeah, and I think it's a stretch because they already last season fake killed Hopper. Mm-hmm. This season, they didn't quite do the same thing with Max. She's kind of brought back immediately. But it is kind of like, killing her and bringing her back. I think if they were to then tack on Eddie too, I mean, that would just kind of get a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, true. I mean,
as much as he was a great character.
Some people have to have permadeath, but I also kind of think Well, I know a lot of people would have been pissed, but Kerri and I had a moment
oh my God.
in the last 2 episodes where Steve was sitting there talking to Nancy, and he was like, I always had this like thing where I was like, I want to get like a RV kind of like this, and I want to go travel the world, and we're like, fucking Steve's dying.
We're like, Steve's dead.
That's
Steve's
a
dead.
that's a death monologue right there. He talks about his dreams, never gets there. So maybe he will.
And I wonder go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna move on, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I wonder if that will come back. Fifth season, and maybe they will actually kill off Steve, and that'll be kind of because you're kind of expecting that to come back. He's going to be killed, and that's kind of going to come back somehow. What he said, but we'll see what happens.
Maybe that's what happens with Steve and Nancy at the end of season 5. Is that's what they get to do?
I mean, I would love that.
They ride off into the sunset.
Steve is like the best.
Yeah,
that would be amazing if they actually get back together and he buys an RV. Why not? And starts traveling.
Does not cook meth in it though.
No, he doesn't. He's not.
You need a source.
All right, so let's move on to another character. I want to talk about the new character Eddie, since we already brought him up.
Definitely.
I love Eddie. Probably one of my favorite characters, new characters of the season. And because they took the idea of this, kind of like with Steve, you kind of think he's going to be kind of high on himself. You think he's going to be kind of a dick in a way. And he starts off that way, but the moment you see him interacting with Dustin and you're like, oh man, like they're season 3 Steve and Dustin for me.
Yeah, like Kerri was saying, like as soon as he gets into the in the D&D sessions too, he starts with being really like kind of like, flamboyant and out there. Like, you can't peg him down. He's going to be kind of weird and crazy. And when he's in the forest selling Chrissy drugs, and then he starts to do just weird stuff to make her laugh and whatnot, you get to see just the different side of Eddie, and you're like, oh, I might like this guy, actually.
Yeah. And he winds up being a really great character.
Oh, yeah. Like when he's on the run and you can see him absolutely scared, being hated by this town, and then eventually like a mob almost, and there's the jocks. You just get super on Eddie's side. Especially like one of my favorite lines from him is when like they're like, we're gonna go do this thing. We got to find this hot spot and whatnot. He's like, I forget what he says, but he's like, I will follow you to Mordor or something like. He does like a whole nerdy ass Lord of the Rings thing, and it's really great and hilarious. So
exactly.
And he freaking tries to save the day by playing Master of Puppets by Metallica, which is pretty. He's like so good at guitar. I'm like, jeez, Eddie.
Dude, my brother loves 80s like rock and roll. So when he heard that, he went crazy. Oh. That was amazing because like in the trailer, they showed Eddie playing guitar, but they never you don't hear what it is. And when he starts playing Master of Puppets, I was like, oh, this is going to be epic. Because you have the whole escape and everything.
Yeah, it was actually kind of like a music video almost. I don't love Metallica, but I still thought that moment was super excellent. I'm like Max. I'm weird. I gravitate more towards the Kate Bush, but that Metallica moment was excellent. I just love it so much. It really fit his character. I think that's why.
Yeah, and it was just so sweet just sweet and heroic how he, sacrificed himself to save Dustin and to save the town. And like Dustin says to his uncle, at the end, like he sacrificed himself for a town that hated him.
Oh my God.
It's so heartbreaking.
That line. Oh, amazing. Dustin knocked that out of the park. Gayton knocked that out.
You gotta imagine. I was just thinking about from the uncle's perspective, and I was like, how do you save an entire town if you die in an earthquake? But I think. And
it also kind of didn't feel like he didn't need to go fight those bats?
No, I think he did to keep them distracted, and I think he was also worried they were just going to follow them through
the hole.
through the hole. Yeah. And
Good
then
point.
be
Good
in
point.
Hawkins.
If they couldn't close it fast enough. And Hawkins,
I don't think
it's
they
Hawkins.
could close it.
It's a Hawkins. There's a G in there.
Hawkins. Sorry.
I will say though, I'm someone who I don't mind characters I love dying as long as they're treated with respect and it makes sense to their character.
Yeah.
They did something brilliant here with Eddie's character because at the beginning he talks about how when Chrissy died, he didn't do anything. He ran.
Yeah.
Oh, like I always run from my problems. This time he is it, he's running from the bats. He looks. He's like, I'm not running, and he stops and he starts fighting them. I'm like, that is what you need to do because that's someone who runs away from their problems, and he's standing feet first, fighting back against the problem.
It's a good arc, but also, let's be real here. Anybody would have ran away from that shit. That was fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Don't be mad at yourself, Eddie. Yeah. Jesus. What just happened? Like, if that happened to someone in the same room with you, what the hell would you do? That you'd run away and maybe go insane. Like, check yourself into an asylum or something. Like, check.
Yep.
Where's my straitjacket?
You're gonna need one. Should we get into Robin and Nancy and their kind of relationship?
Oh no, I'm just kidding. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, I was like, what? You don't talk about it? I love that they are continuing this story with Robin and her wanting to go, tell someone, kind of like in Will in a way, she almost slips up again, but she likes this one girl in band, and then she sees that that she has a boyfriend. I do love the fact that we had a callback from season 3, the singer from Nashville who came in. I was like, what? They're gonna show her? And then like she sings here, like, yep, she sounds like Miss Piggy. They were right on the money with that one.
Yeah.
I do think I loved kind of we got to see Robin and Nancy interact and like kind of become friends after Robin kind of saves the day at the mental institution. I do wish we had gotten a little bit more Robin and Steve this season. I think we got a few bones to us in the first episode or two, and then kind of a little bit throughout. But that was one of the strongest parts of season 3 was their friendship, and we just because of how much stuff was going on this season, we really didn't get a ton of that. I think I would say actually the same thing with Steve and Dustin. We didn't get a ton of Steve and Dustin. It was a lot more, Dustin and Eddie, which made sense. But, again, one of the best parts of season 2 was Steve and Dustin, and we just didn't really get that as much this season.
Yeah. I mean, I think also the relationship between Nancy and Robin is so great because correct me if I'm wrong, before Max and 11 got like a really great relationship, the Stranger Things did not pass the Bechdel test. Does anybody know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
So it's basically in a piece of media. I can't remember what the stand, like whether there's even a scene where two female characters
interact,
talk about something other than a male character.
That's it.
Or talk about something other than
way to establish if a show, a movie, whatever is establishing like female agency, like of like a woman character.
Yeah.
So it's like it's good that they're having like these relationships happen. And I think it was a very, very strong one. I love the scene when they're trying to go whatever his name is, Robert Englund's character, when they're trying to go basically talk to him. And this is like yes. And this is the scene I think that we get that's fantastic from Maya Hawke as Robin, where she has to basically, tell, I forget what she says, but she says a lot of really great stuff about Do you remember what she says?
Oh, she like says like, oh, like someone told me this story at camp, and I've been fascinated with it ever since. It's driven my career, and like.
And she goes so long on it, and it just like I could
the
see
music builds up too with it.
and I could see Maya Hawke coming out in it because I've been watching a lot of interviews with her, been listening to her music on YouTube. She makes music. She just seems like she talks really fast, and it's just really, really fun. And I think she brought that out in Robin. And I love also with Robin, like later, they start to paint her as like the big clumsy character, and they're like, oh, she's gonna end up like tripping or dropping something. It's really funny.
I am kind of interested to see because Robin was a little bit different than how I remembered her. Maybe like watching 3 and 4 back to back to see if Robin's character kind of stays consistent. Because I do kind of think they really pegged her this season as someone who's like very hyper, talkative, clumsy. And I'm kind of like, was she that much that way in season 3? I don't remember that being the case, but maybe it was.
She actually was, as far as I remember. It wasn't as noticeable as it was in the season, but you could clearly see that she's someone who, when she talks, it just kind of keeps going and she doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I like that about her character. That's really fun.
And the one thing I love is that her love interest, Vicky, you realize that she is literally the mirror of Maya Hawke's character. Like, once they're making like peanut butter sandwiches, and she just keeps going. You're like, yeah, you two are perfect for each other.
They're both very awkward.
Yeah.
And it's just seeing them interact, was amazing. And it was interesting to see Vicky when we kind of like were first seeing her, or like maybe second seeing her, and she's like trying to pull off this like whole Molly Ringwald look. I was like, wait, did they get did they get Molly Ringwald to be in? Oh no, that's Vicky. Never mind.
Let's see. So we just talked about Robin. Should we go into a little bit of what else do we have left? We talked about. I think we talked about everybody in the town. I mean, Nancy. We're gonna talk about Nancy real quick. She had more of a bigger role than I thought she would in this season. Especially when it comes to like. She's the one that Vecna shows the vision to, which we get the big reveal.
Yeah.
She's the one who pretty much, I guess, defeats Vecna in a way because she sets him on fire and then she shoots him out the window. Nancy's a badass in this season, man. I love seeing that.
I love seeing them, all 3 of them or whatever fighting Vecna. Because I was sitting there like, there's no way they're gonna, because with that whole scene before it, when Vecna has 11, like when she shows up, like pushes him, that's awesome. And then, but when he's like there, he straps her up. He's like, you're done. You've lost. I'm gonna make this hurt, stuff like that. And then straps Max up, and then you see Max get hurt. It's so tense. That's where those stakes were coming in hard. Hunter, and I think that's very true. But then when you get that satisfying like thing, but then it was great because like after they did that, and then the town cracked up anyways, and then you had like the whole kind of thing, like in Parasite and other things where people were like in the gymnasium, like we're all bundled up here because we don't know what the hell's going on. And Kerri had a really fun kind of point that she thought might happen.
I thought it was gonna happen.
Yeah, where the actor, which we haven't even really spoke about this actually, about how Vecna became Vecna.
We need to do that next.
But the actor who plays Vecna, who's actually in other things, he's in Sweeney Todd. He plays the guy who loves Johanna. But we thought he was going to show up in like his own face without the Vecna makeup and just be like, no one's going to know what he looks like other than 11. And then, maybe it could have been like a thing where 11 would show up and then she would go like, or something like that. But
that's not what happened.
That's not what happened. But maybe season 5 that could happen. I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know where they're gonna go with like a villain, because Vecna ended up being kind of like the singular like mastermind behind all of the forces in the Upside Down. So now it's like, how do you go bigger than that?
Well, now he's in the real world, though.
That's true. So now it's still Vecna, but
Yeah.
how is he going to operate now? I mean, in the real world, might be even more or less scary than in the Dreamscape world.
Well, I think maybe less scary for us as the viewer, probably more scary for more characters,
Maybe.
because their entire world might be disintegrating.
True. And because we know his powers when in the Dreamscape, where he makes you go blind, he raises you up, breaks your bones, kills you. And then we know also because Vecna's basically a spider.
Well, he like harnesses the
Spider,
shadow. It was a little
That's
actually
right,
they didn't super explain it, which I thought was fine. I don't think you need to spell out everything all the time. But he like harnesses what they call the shadow, and uses it like that's what they called the mind flayer in the second season.
Because when he's so just to go off of Vecna, he starts as a little kid. He's like Robert Englund's son. He gets he kills them because he has a plan to be more than a human being or something like that. He gets trapped in Papa's whole facility with 11. He's one, and then he kills basically everybody there because he's insane, and that's just what he does. And then 11 basically pushes him into the Upside Down. She doesn't create the Upside Down,
not that we know of,
but he ends up there and he creates kind of from his like imagination, like things exist there already.
Yeah, I think he kind of just like harnesses the things that exist
But
there.
We did see when he was a kid that he drew the shape of the thing.
Yeah.
So maybe he was imagining that already existed, or maybe he created that with his mind.
I interpreted it, and this could be wrong because they didn't super explain it, which, like I said, is totally fine, and they might just get into it more in season 5. He saw a bunch of smoke in the Upside Down and then harnessed it, like kind of created the mind flayer from what was existing in the Upside Down.
That's what I was thinking as well. So right on the same page. But yeah, like he's a crazy son of a bitch. And his whole thing where he wanted to be more than a human, he wanted to be powerful, he wanted to be, he didn't like the kind of like mediocrity of just being a human, I guess, and he wanted to be more than. He became that. So
I thought it was a really great twist, though, that he was Vecna, because we got that at the end of volume 1.
Dude, it kind of zoomed in on his like little one tattoo or whatever when he was Vecna. It's so cool.
Yeah. I don't know. That was just a great payoff where kind of all those pieces come together. You find out what that teaser scene was. You find out the full context in the beginning that happened at the beginning of the show. You find out that was one, that he is one. I mean, you don't know that at the beginning. You think he's maybe just some kind of assistant.
Yeah.
But that he's the one who did all the killing, and that he's Robert Englund's son. And I think they did a good job when they did the whole, I think his name was like Victor Crow. When they first presented that, in Dear Billy, they first presented Victor Crow's story. I think they did a really good job of being very careful not to reveal when you're first watching it that it's actually, his son, who's Henry, I think is his name, Henry, is, the one who's actually causing all of this.
Yeah. I kind of thought that might be when they were setting up the whole thing. I thought that might be. I was like, he looks like he could be little Damien Omen kind of kid where he's just crazy. But then like they transitioned away from that, and I was like, oh no, okay, never mind. Because it looked like he got killed too. And so I was like, oh, I guess not then. But then later it's like, no, this is what happened. And you're like, oh shit. it was that little weird ass kid. And that was like a really cool. I loved the explanation. I loved everything about the ending of that. And I love the fact that they split the season up the way they did for the first 7 and then the final 2. And I know a lot of it was because of, hey Hunter, we talked a lot about Vecna, so we can get your thoughts on Vecna. We talked about who Vecna was and how he became Vecna, and then like his motivations, the reveal of it. And now I was just talking about the way they broke down the season for the first 7 episodes and then the final 2. I thought that was brilliant, but I know that they did it because they weren't finished and they kind of wanted to just get it out. There's probably COVID stuff that happened, I'm sure, but because they filmed a lot of it a long time ago, apparently.
Yeah.
And they weren't finished with the final 2 episodes, but I love the release strategy anyways, even if it was invented out of necessity, because I thought that those final 2 episodes were so epic because of the buildup and the wait that you had to do. There's the 2. I'm almost done. There's the 2 schools. There is the week by week approach that we used to get all the time as kids when it was just cable. Everything would come out every week, and you'd have to wait for things. And then Netflix introduced the binge model. I think this is kind of the best of both worlds, because you have this first 7 episodes that you could binge that I loved. I was like, oh, good. I don't have to wait. I have to try to remember what happened last week. And then, you're like, oh no, okay, so this isn't the end. I gotta wait a month, and then I get the final 2 episodes. I just thought it was really great. So best of both worlds.
Yeah. I think where they left it off was, if they were going to split up the season, that was the perfect place to leave it off with that big.
It was.
Yeah, the shot of zooming in on Vecna, and then you see the tattoo of 1 on his arm, and you're like, what?
Dude, I got so shocked by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts, Hunter, on Vecna?
I keep saying this, and I keep telling my siblings this. Vecna is my favorite villain in Stranger Things history.
By far. I mean, he's so like I was saying earlier, I was probably just telling Kerri maybe. He's the mastermind behind pretty much everything in the Upside Down, the big thing. So I'm like, this guy's the guy that has the face. He's the guy that's intelligent. He's got all the powers. All the stuff in 3 with the body horror was scary, but this guy's manipulative and can actually get you. And it's scary what he does to Max and other characters. You're like, oh my god! How do you?
I actually like how they gave him some stuff that mirrors a lot of the villains that we've seen. Which I just thought about this. So the body horror type thing with his kills, you can get that from the Mind Flare in season 3, or the Mind Hive. I'm sorry, in season 3, where they you see him playing with the bodies a little bit. You see that from Vecna. You see the viciousness from the Demogorgons and how relentless he is, and he's continuously going for. So I like how they kind of continued he feels like an epic boss. He feels like a final boss for season 4 and season 5, because he's not dead, so we know he's going to come back. I'm just curious as to what they're going to do in season 5, because what's cool is in season 2 we got the Mind Flare. In season 3, we got the Mind Hive. So it's a perfect mixture. It was like a more evolved Mind Flare was the Mind the Mind Flay, right? The Mind Flay is what it's called, right?
I don't remember. I don't know.
I'm gonna say Mind Flay, and if I'm wrong, someone can correct me in the comments.
But I just thought also just with Vecna, just the way he looks. I mean, it's apparently 6 hours in the chair, so respect for that actor.
J.B. Campbell Bower.
Thank you, Johanna. So he's basically kind of like a tentacle spider type of thing too. His dream powers are insane.
Yes.
I don't know. There's just so much with this character that's just terrifying. Just the look, his powers, the way he operates, his voice, when his voice comes and he's like, Nancy, And you're like, you get a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, and you're like, Jesus, why don't you just start calling people bitch, Vecna? You know you want to. Welcome to Primetime, bitch.
Yeah.
It was
I was catching and I disappear with his flesh. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
you can shrug that away, I
gotcha.
think, for story purposes.
And I think maybe he wanted it there.
And he re-tattooed it on his arm in the Upside Down. Yeah, I don't know.
So I love how, now correct me if I'm wrong. I could have seen this wrong, but I see Vecna as like the catalyst for everything that happened in the previous 3 seasons. Like, he controlled the Demogorgons and found an opening with 11 to bring them out. Then the Mind Flayer, which I don't know if he works under the Mind Flayer, almost like an army general, or if he controls the Mind Flayer and sent that down to kind of mess with everybody in Hawkins.
Yeah, we had been talking about that. And what we had gotten from that last episode was that he saw the shadow in the Upside Down and he kind of transformed it into the Mind Flayer.
Okay.
But we also aren't 100% sure.
The one, this is a little bit off topic, maybe not. The one big reveal that I loved was that they took it like 360 and they were like, that's what Papa was doing all along with the Upside Down, was searching for Vecna.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that puts
everything. I didn't think about that because the major like plot element I've always had problems with is why people keep feeling the need to open up the Upside Down every season. Yeah. And this one makes sense because in season 2 you realize that no, they were there trying to open it up because they wanted to find one. They wanted to destroy one.
Well, at least Papa did. I don't know about the Russians.
Yeah, the Russians, it's still kind of seems like trying to, I guess, harness their power and do experiments on Demogorgons.
And that's also the kind of thing is if the Americans are doing it, you know, the Russians are going to try to do it too. So
yeah. I love how he looks so much like Freddy Krueger, as you guys brought up, and that the first Chrissy's death reminded me so much of Tina's death in the first Nightmare on Elm Street film, because it's a cheerleader. You don't really know what's going on, and then all of a sudden she starts floating, and you're like, "What is going on?" And then her bones break. I love how the death scenes, like, they just like contort the body, and you're just like, that hurts every time I see it.
Yeah,
I think, and now that I think about it too, though. Like, I just love the imagery of that. And I'm thinking that I think would be a great poster on someone's wall is the scene in, like, the graveyard with Max floating up. Stranger Things season 4. I just think that would be such a cool poster. Someone needs to draw me that.
That would be amazing. What else was I going to say? I love how you find out that one was actually, was it Victor Creel's son?
Yeah,
in the flashback. And what's cool is I didn't put 2 and 2 together. It's not like something I saw coming, because I just thought, well, obviously, you know, Victor Creel is framed for killing his family. He's in a mental institution now, and then all of a sudden you're just like, wait a minute, that kid's up to something. Now I want to go back and see if there's any more Easter eggs of, like, do I see this kid doing weird stuff earlier on than they say I do?
Yeah, we actually touched on that when you went away. So this is a little bit of a repeat, but that's great because that goes into kind of what we were saying is that I was talking about how I did get that vibe from that kid when I first saw him, because I was like, that kid looks kind of like he might be, the way he was acting. I was like, he might be like a little Damien Omen kid, and but then, you know, they kind of threw it away like, you know, no, that kid died with his family. I was like, oh, never mind. It's something else. And then when they brought it back, I went like, I knew it.
Kind of like Scream. It was like Scream because they tell you that Billy Loomis is the obvious killer. And then they redirect you. And then, oh, psych, you got redirected.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even get directed in the first place. I don't know if it's because maybe I was doing work at the time. I didn't pick, so I'm excited. I didn't pick up on it at all. I was just like, oh, okay. I was like,
nice.
Just a kid there, So I'm excited, like you said, Hunter, to rewatch it and see if there are little clues, like more clues than even like Chad picked up on.
What else do I want to bring up? I'm trying to think of some more stuff I can bring up about Vecna. Let's see. I'm trying to remember specific.
I mean, like the whole like kind of like thing with him, like his whole thing is he seems to target people who've done something wrong, which I thought was really cool. Or feel guilty, like Nancy and Max because of her brother. And there's like such an interesting kind of concept, like his motivation's something. But then also,
okay. So Sean Red says they deliberately don't show Henry much at all until they're revealed. So maybe there aren't any clues.
Okay. Well, yeah, but like I love his kind of thing. It's almost like a jigsaw type of thing. Something wrong, now you have to pay for it.
Kind of, yeah.
Prove that you love your life.
You can haunt them with, right?
Yes.
So that makes it scary and fun.
And that's some great imagery, because what's great about it is you're not sure when Vecna's going to show up, because he takes over. Like, you make it like a dream sequence. And what's cool is like when Nancy is in the car with that junior reporter, and Nancy's talking to the cops, and all of a sudden he's like, you should feel guilty. And you're just like, what's going on here? Like, and he starts controlling. It kind of reminded me of Scarecrow in a way, where like, the makeup was like Batman's Scarecrow, where it's kind of like fear toxin, and you're just kind of like seeing his face deform. And he's like, you killed these people in a car crash. And then he sees the car crash, the people coming out of the flames. It's just beautiful imagery. Like,
you have like, it looks like what I guess his victims, but it looks like in that dreamscape or the upside down is that he has all the victims and they're like wrapped in like a tree or whatever it is, and you're like, oh my god. Creepy.
I do want to bring up Victor Creel for a second, because I love Robert Englund just as an actor. And there's actually an homage to A Nightmare on Elm Street with him, because he said in an interview that he wanted them to, have a small Easter egg with Freddy Krueger in there and then move on, because it's a new character. But you see it when he's clawing on the desk, and you see that he's made imprints in the desk. He's like, the clawing is Freddy Krueger's, like, how he does the clawing on the walls and stuff, and you can see kind of the same hand movement where he's like doing this and he's going back and forth with it. So that was a cool little Easter egg. And also, I love the scene with was it Victor, Nancy, and Robin, because it reminded me so much of Silence of the Lambs.
It was a Silence of the Lambs homage.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I love it, because like the way he's even like positioned, where he's sitting down but his body is away from them, and he's just kind of like sitting up like this, just clawing on the table, and then he turns around and you see that he's blind, like you don't have any sights. That's terrifying. He like ramps up how scary it is, and I love it.
Yeah, and just like knowing that he like kind of like did that eye thing to himself.
Yeah.
That always just like grosses and creeps me out. Like, oh my god. I don't know.
And then like as they continue talking about his past, and you see he just gets more and more and more sad about it, and you start feeling bad for him.
Yeah.
And, he's like, I saw an angel, and you realize that the angel was actually the music box, because he starts humming the tone as he's like crawling back in bed trying to like forget about it. You're just like, oh, this is so sad.
Yeah.
And then that's where Robin and Nancy find out about the music thing, which I'm okay with the music thing. I don't know how it works realistically, but it's like, how it would work in real life. There's also a cutout of Krueger in the background.
Yeah.
Really?
predicting that. Yeah. Yep.
That's
I didn't
fine.
see that. That's interesting. So I think we pretty much talked about everyone in the Vecna storyline.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the Nina storyline? 11, Owens, and Brenner, real quick.
Yeah, we can do
Oh
that.
man, yeah.
So I actually liked this whole like segment, I guess, this whole like side mission, because I still don't know how I feel about Brenner. He's kind of up and down for me. Like I see how much he cares about 11, but also he's holding her prisoner at the same time.
Yeah. I feel like this whole segment also kind of feels a little bit like the Russia one a little bit, where it's like she's in there for so long, and then you're just kind of like, all right, get your powers back and kind of get out. And then it kind of like it's so slow paced. And then when like I remember like in the last like little moments too, I'm like, oh, she finally got to the door. Okay, oh no, she's back in the thing. All right, she's back. And then but when she finally gets out and then like, he dies, right? And then she goes, goodbye, Papa. I love that too.
I really like the storyline, although I did hear kind of similar criticisms about this one, that it was a little slow, but I really enjoyed it because it was definitely, they had set it up as like to resolve the mystery of, that very first scene we saw at the beginning where it looks like 11 has killed everyone. They definitely set it up so that we solve that mystery. We kind of learn a little bit more about the facility where 11 was, the other other kids who were in it.
How they operated, how they were tested.
Yeah, and if you give me a little bit of a mystery, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So
I will say that freaking helicopter takedown sequence.
Oh, that was so cool.
Amazing. You can tell, it could be wrong, but I doubt it. You could tell they did that practically, and you're like, oh my God, they blew up a helicopter. That's insane.
Yes, they did. That's amazing. I actually loved this storyline because of what it led to.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where we first meet one. That's where we get the big reveal of what happened, of 11 actually killing him, and then you realizing that like he killed the kids and then 11 killed him in retaliation. And what's great about that, it also is, as Kerri said, it brings a conclusion to the opening scene, and also shows us the theme of, is 11 a superhero or is she a monster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
she's a bit of both. I mean, she was an experiment, so you got that kind of, is she, especially with the army, is she a monster? Is she going to snap one day? It's the Superman effect. Is she going to snap one day and just destroy the planet? We don't know what she can do.
But the thing about it, exactly like Superman, is that her choices are to be good. Like she could,
her choices make her the superhero.
She could be like in that one episode, Bully 11, but she chooses not to be. She doesn't have the red kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
But I love. Then you tie it into that whole Mike thing where he says, "You're my superhero."
You're my superhero. Yeah.
So
I really liked how, when in the last episode when 11's trying to reason with Vecna, and she says, I realized that, you're not the monster. None of these creatures are the monster. Dr. Brenner was the monster for imprisoning us.
Yeah.
But it's like, fuck no, I'm a fucking monster, man.
No, this is me.
But you can tell exactly that's 11's character.
Yes.
She's the, like I've said before, that's the she's the Paddington, she's the like Harry Potter, she's the one that's going to go out and try to reach any character that she's like, this person's savable. I can reach any. She's the Mr. Rogers. I can reach anybody. Everyone has worth and value, and I can reach them. There's that little bit of good is still inside of them, and that's what I love about her character.
It's very true.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I love Owens as a character, because you can tell it's two sides of the same coin. Like while Brenner sees 11, and I really believe he does love her as a child, he wants to control her to protect her. Owen, on the other hand, wants to protect her, but wants to give her the freedom of choice. He even says, he was like, you told her that this, is her decision. This isn't a prison. And now you're making it a prison because you're taking that choice from her. So it's the two sides of the same coin situation where it's like one loves her but wants to protect her and does it the wrong way. One loves her and protects her but wants to give her freedom of choice as well.
Well, I think part of it too is Brenner wants to use 11, and he wanted to use all of the children, for his own gain, whether it was like, advances in science, spying on Russians, using 11 to track down where one was, and potentially maybe he's just trying to track down one so he can get one back and put him back under his control and use him. So,
yeah.
But Owens wants to actually help 11 get her powers back to save the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's, like you said, Hunter, Owens is obviously cares, I guess is going about it more of the right way and caring about 11, trying to make sure this is her choice.
Yeah. Chad?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think I've said pretty much everything I've said, about that storyline. I think it's very similar. Like she was in there for a very long time. It did kind of flesh out a little bit of that part of Stranger Things. I don't know. I want more of 11. I kind of want her to get her hair back, and just show her just being who she wants to be, more of than being the character that's just in prison the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see her grow as a character more in that world. So I'm excited for her in season 5, because I feel like they had to probably do what they did, but a lot of those times I was a little bored with her doing the plinko
over and over and over again
and stuff like that. But all the one stuff was interesting. It was interesting to see her amongst her kind, I guess, of imprisoned youth. Just seeing her be kind of the most badass of them, I guess, when they're doing the test and stuff like that. And then I liked, Paul Reiser's character in there. He was very complicated, kind of a character. So, but yeah, I agree with all your points on it.
Sean said Brenner believes he loves Levin, but he's clearly psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a final death from Dr. Brenner this time.
Yeah.
The permanent death.
Yeah.
I love that
eyes are going to open at one point. You're going to go, no.
He's wearing a bulletproof vest. God damn it.
No, but that whole scene where Brenner dies and all he wants is for 11 to acknowledge him, and she's just like, no.
Yeah, he wants her to say she understands that he was just trying to protect her.
Yeah,
and it's great that she realizes that that's not true.
Yeah, that's toxic, kind of manipulative. I was doing everything for you for the greater good, for
the greater good.
Good, the greater good.
Yeah, I don't think so. You kind of fried her mom's brain.
Yeah, you don't care.
Imprisoned her.
Yep.
Dude, speaking of that, there was a great dialogue between her and Brenner when Brenner won't let her go. And she's like, did you care about me? Did you care about my mom? Did you care about all these people that you imprisoned? And then she tries to force him against Nina, the machine.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're poisoned now.
Yeah. I think oh, go ahead, Hunter.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I think if we're done with 11, I think all we have left are our Russia characters.
Yes, that's Hopper, Joyce, Yori, and Enzo.
True. And like we said from the beginning, this was maybe, if anybody has issues with the season, I feel like most people are going to point to that storyline and say that was the weakest part. I didn't really care. Maybe, you know, Hunter felt differently. So maybe there is a section of people who did feel differently.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really care for a lot of the characters. I thought Yuri was pretty funny. He also had like that kind of like, you know, betrayal. Like he's always in it for the money, you know, kind of like that, you know, semi like Han Solo type of character.
Yeah.
He's kind of like an anti-hero type of guy. But yeah, ultimately they were there too long, I think, probably, you could say.
I don't know. I feel like they kind of, by necessity, had that storyline take so long because, I don't know, things probably would have gone different if they had gotten back to Hawkins in time.
They needed the reunion to be as sweet as it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
I actually didn't mind the season. I think I agree more with Chad when it comes to like I think the Nina scenes kind of went too long, but I understand why they did it. I think they spent a perfect amount of time in Russia only because you want to show where Hopper's been and why and how he ended up in this situation. Instead of being like, oh, you know, he's just back. Like you get one scene with him. I like the fact that kind of you build up Hopper. You also introduced Enzo, which I think is a really good character because you can tell he's actually friends with Hopper. He's not someone who's just in it for the money or the pride or whatever, because he's betraying his country to protect Hopper because he knows that there's other things coming. There are other monsters that he sees.
Yeah.
You know, like Demogorgons and things that other people don't see. You know,
I didn't really connect with that character for some reason. I don't know.
I mean, I thought he was sweet and like served his purpose, but yeah, I was kind of the same. I really didn't have any strong feelings about like, you know, caring about if he, you know, made it to the end.
Yeah,
of the season.
he didn't have like a God, what is his name? Alexei vibe to him or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I love the interaction between Murray and Yuri in these sections. Mm-hmm. Just like he understands exactly what he's saying, and he knows that Yuri is fucking with him. And at the point where he starts like Yuri starts like purposely missing items from the helicopter, mm-hmm. and like Enzo and like they realize Murray, like they realize that like something's up with him. He's fucking us over somehow, and I don't know how, but we're gonna find out. I love that Yuri's nickname is the Peanut Butter Smuggler because he's got tons of peanut butter.
I will say the one thing that I just remembered, the scene that I really did like, excuse me, in the Russia storyline was the scene when they're at like that weird kind of like dinner table, and Hopper's like basically telling all the Russians like about like the creatures and upside down what they do to you and stuff like that, and they're all scared to death because he's been through the shit. And I thought that scene was pretty great, actually.
I did like in Volume 2 at the end where, you know, Hopper and Joyce trap the Demogorgons and Murray just unleashes the flamethrower on them. I thought that was a great comment. I liked when Hopper just like kind of chopped the last Demogorgon to bits. That was really
dude, where did that sword come from? I still have no idea where that sword came from.
Oh
I was wondering that as well. But I remembered because do you remember when they were after that dinner scene with all the Russians, they were supposed to fight the Demogorgon and they were given
weapons.
So the weapons were still there.
Well, he had that flamethrower. He was gonna flame. Was that it? At the lighter? Come on.
Yeah. But that's where
that was the soap rag.
Sword was one of the weapons that they were.
I just remember he was like that lighter was his like hope.
Yeah.
And he was like, no.
All right, so skipping towards the end a little bit, I love the interaction with when Hopper meets Eleven for the first time in like over a year. And the first thing she says is, I kept the door open 3 inches. Oh!
You're like so sweet. Like she knew he would be back.
Yeah.
Like she
and
knew.
also like before that, if you notice, like she goes to close the door to clean up her room, she leaves it 3 inches when she closes the door. Like she always does that when she goes into her room. Like she leaves it open.
Yeah.
I love that.
The talk about the hairstyles, like you're bald. Yeah. I stole your he's just about stealing Elle's hairstyle, kid. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that line actually. But did you guys find the Hopper and Mike hug kind of awkward?
That was awkward.
Yeah,
I
okay.
thought so.
I was like, that's not their
I think it was supposed to be awkward.
Okay, well, I don't know. I was like,
I think
it was like a long time. I'm like,
yeah,
you guys like each other? I can't remember.
I think Hopper still. I mean, he's a father. He's a father to 11. He still feels weird, like interacting with his daughter's boyfriend, and that's normal for any father. I can feel like
honestly probably just like happy to see everybody from Hawkins again. So
yeah,
I think maybe like let bygones be bygones. You know, I'm glad you guys have a strong relationship.
Yeah.
I also feel like
growing up.
Because didn't Hopper have a scene with Mike at the end of season 3 before they go fight? He's like, take care of her or something like that. I feel like that was kind of like the mending of the bridges. And then when he comes back, I think Mike is also shocked to see him, so he doesn't know how to react as well because he thought that Hopper was dead.
Yeah, I mean, it still felt a little awkward, but you know, and of course, Kerri felt the same way. So I'm like, oh, okay.
I did not say
This is my favorite line. You look not fat.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet.
All right. Are we done?
I feel like we talked about everything. We are 2 hours in. This is officially our longest episode since Scream 2022.
There you go.
All right. Where can we find you guys online?
Kerri.
So I play in Hunter's Horror Trivia League. So you can catch me there playing matches. That's kind of about it.
I'm gonna keep it brief. Over at the Dill Pickle Movie Network, I do a show called Picture This. We do a lot of Best Picture Oscar stuff, and we're doing this month 2001. We're doing a Lord of the Rings series 2001 through 2003. So Dill Pickle Movie Network, check that out. You know, it's going to be a fun series. It's our first series we're doing, talking about those movies and ranking them and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun over there. Over at the TMG, I do Movie Battleground. I do trivia. I do trivia in a lot of different leagues. But with Movie Battlegrounds, I think it's a lot of fun. With the announcement of the cancellation of the Schmodown, which is crazy that happened. Very sad, but I think the fan leagues, like if you're interested in playing trivia or debate or stuff like that, you know, seek out TMG. You know, a lot of these leagues,
MTC.
And then you also have like, you know, There Will Be Trivia, stuff like that, like Henry Confidential, stuff like that. There's a lot of really fun leagues that are coming up or leagues that have existed. Check them out because more people should, you know, be a part of it and keep these things going because they're a lot of fun. I have my own channel where I rank stuff. We're doing like MCU through the phases. And then welcome to Primetime. Henry's trivia, not Henry, Hunter's trivia. Sorry, Hunter. And I was on Rankem recently. We did Steve Carell movies for Take 3. I think that's probably about it for now.
All right, guys. So if you did enjoy this, hit the like button, subscribe to Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. You got a whole